Thank you, Victor, for that. We appreciate it. And as the days go on since this horrific mass shooting, we're learning more about the suspected shooter's past and his views about the LDS Church and its members. Joining me now is Kris Johns, who is actually running for city council in the city of Burton, where the suspected shooter lived. And while Kris was canvassing for his campaign, he actually spoke to the suspected shooter just days before the attack at the LDS Church in Grand Blanc. Kris, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This has got to be just absolutely surreal for you, having that encounter with him just days prior to this incident. What was that encounter like?
Again, that's the word I would use, is surreal. And it was at a case where, again, I'm campaigning, I'm going door to door. I've never been to this home before. And he was extremely positive. I pulled into his driveway. He met me. I asked if I could speak to him. He did. And really within minutes of a quick overview, he asked me questions. The first question was about guns. Then the next question was about what I thought about Mormons.
What you thought about Mormons. He went right into that. What was your reaction when he started talking about that?
It's shocking. I mean, I expect presidential politics, state level politics to be discussed, but nothing really related to religion. That was the first time. And it was a very direct, and I could immediately tell that this was something he had been thinking about, that he had real interest in. And I do have a very loose connection to the LDS faith. My cousin played football at BYU. A good friend is in leadership in Orem. But ultimately, I told him what I knew, but each successive question was more pointed and direct.
And what were his thoughts about the LDS Church? What were you able to gather from his questioning to you about what he thought about the LDS Church?
It was twofold. One, he had put a lot of thought to both the faith and the religions and the practices, but I could very much tell that he really had an issue with the faith. At one point, he was a person with tattoos. He said, they told me I had to have my tattoos removed. And again, while he was calm, he was collected, I could definitely tell that this was something that was a real issue with him.
And he used some terminology about the LDS Church. How did he describe that church?
Ultimately, he said Mormons are the Antichrist, and he said that several times. And that is something that you do not forget in general conversation, let alone somebody you have met for just less than 20 minutes. And that is something that I walked away with. While very inflammatory and insensitive, it wasn't anything, he didn't say it in a way that would indicate any sort of maliciousness or vindictive potential behavior. And that's really the part that's shocking, is that this is something he truly believes and had thought a lot about, but didn't say it in a way that would indicate violence.
No, you answered my next question. Was there anything in his language that could have maybe led someone to believe that he could have done something like this or eventually be accused of something like this?
No, and that's the part that is truly, I go back in that recollection of discussion, while it was something that I would say was shocking, it wasn't anything that I would say would be indicative of violence. He had really nothing, he said nothing related to, I'm going to go do this, or I want to do that. I could tell that he put a lot of thought into what he was saying, but truly nothing related to what he did this past Sunday.
And when the news broke that this had happened and the pictures started coming out and the name came out, what went through your mind when you realized you had just spoken to this man just days prior?
Well, it was twofold. Like, I was in church when I heard the news and I did not make the connection. And when the name was released, I did not make the connection. It wasn't until I saw a photo of him that I immediately knew. And then also, to just take a step back, I had mentioned my friend in leadership in Orem. Part of me wanted to tell him what was said, but I didn't want to call my friend and tell him these negative things. There was just something that struck me on Friday to share what I had heard. And it was that voice message over Facebook that I shared at Friday at 6:01 that's been really the foundation that's been shared with the Michigan State Police, with the FBI. And it's a case where this is just, I've knocked on 7,000 doors. I've never had anything like this happen.
You're from Burton, you live in Burton, you're running for city council, you must care a lot about that community. How is the community doing in light of this?
Well, the community is resilient, and I know that, again, while where previous acts of violence have happened, this is not something that's common in Burton. I mean, we're a very peaceful community where it's cohesive, and this, unfortunately, is truly one of these things that is extremely rare. And even with my interaction with him, it was nothing that could have, in my opinion, have been known. And you figure, I'm a person who had talked to him for 20 minutes and he shared all of this, let alone other people. And so that's the shocking part. But I do know that the community is rallying around both the family, because again, I'm a father. This person took away his his own son's father, and he took away other people's parents. And that's the part that's truly shocking, where he had a genuine interaction with my child that as a father that I saw was truly genuine. And 6 days later, he turns his truck into a missile.
Well, Kris Johns, running for city council in Burton, thank you for taking the time. Scary, surreal, tragic. There's so many words to describe this, but I think everyone's just trying to wrap our heads around making sense of it. Thank you for sharing your interaction. It really paints a picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll cut that. Thank you so much, Kris. Really appreciate it. Is there anything, this is still recording, but probably not going to use for TV. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
Truly, what I really want to reinforce, and I apologize with the light going out, is nothing political was said. I know people want to make connections. They want to do A, B to C. He said nothing political. Yes, there was a Trump sign on his property. But in this 20-minute conversation, 15 of it, which was very passionate, nothing red, blue, left, right, Trump, Biden was said. And so that's the part I really want to stress, is that in regards to just the rhetoric, truly nothing political, nothing that would have been a tip. And that's just really what I want to share, is that this was a person who had planned to do this. And I believe he had already made his decision up that he was going to commit this act.
Is there any other groups that he mentioned? Any other dislike that he mentioned about people or groups?
He did not. He really focused on this discussion of the LDS faith, and it truly went, each question was just a bit sharper. He had asked about prominent LDS figures, Brigham Young, Joseph Smith, Nauvoo, tablets. And again, I'm kind of rattling these off, but it was almost like this is how he was talking. And it then got into religious practices, and just, he ultimately, he was talking about the Mormon Bible and how there was additional books that were in the New Testament. And ultimately, part of that really came into his very final statements were that Mormons are the Antichrist, and that's what he left me with.
Well, in light of what happened, it's got to be tough to wrap your head around why that happened to you and what it all means. And again, everybody wants to know why. Even if you are like him and clearly dislike the LDS Church for whatever reason, why would you do something like this? I don't know if we're ever going to get that answer. Final question. Did you see his son or his wife, family members in the house? Was there anybody that was around him when he was talking with you?
He did not. I pulled off to the side of the road, and he met me at the road. I initially thought there was something wrong with my vehicle, and it's a busy road, and it was the first time I was there. And he said, "Get off the road, pull your car into my driveway," invited me on the property. And again, I want to stress this component about him, being a father. He mentioned, because my daughter has autism, and she's a very sweet child, and he goes, "Your daughter's beautiful." And my daughter reaches out to him, and he holds her hand. And then ultimately he goes, my son has a serious health condition. He has a G-tube, and he said a medical condition that I was not aware of that was just very rare. And that's the part that I cannot shake, is that a father would do this to other families. And I could tell that he really had, at least in that interaction with my child, a very genuine connection, and he had love for his child. And ultimately he decided to kill.
This is horrible. And there's other folks that I've talked to that were friends with him, and they mentioned similar attributes, that he was a loving father and a husband and not somebody they ever thought would have done something like this. But I don't think any regular folks like us would ever think that somebody would be capable of this. But unfortunately, we've seen the results of reality, and it's just terrifying. Kris Johns, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have my number. If you think of anything, let me know. This is obviously still unfolding, and who knows what's going to come out. And I just really appreciate your take on this. So please, you got my number. Let me know if you think of anything, if there's any way we can return the favor.
Yeah, one thing, if you could have somebody on your staff friend me on Facebook. Mm-hmm. My Facebook profile is Kris Johns 81. Okay. I'm wearing a Tigers hat. I'm on a Ferris wheel at the Michigan State Fair. Okay. I have a voice memo that I sent to my friend in Utah. I can't send it, unfortunately, by email or text, but I want you to because this was what happened at Friday at 6:01, and I just want it just for fidelity purpose, for timeline purposes, so that you have that.
Okay. You can go, if you want to go to my page, Ty Steele News, you can send it to me there. Does it have to be a personal page, so you could be you have to be friends to be able to do that?
I believe so. I mean, let me just do that. I'll text you. I just want you to have it.
Okay.
Because it just gets into my mind where when this first happened, something extremely negative, you don't want to call your friend and say, man, somebody just said the nastiest things about your faith.
Right.
But there was a case where I'm hitting doors. There was a reason I wanted to share it. I just want to share a timestamp with you.
Okay.
And then I also want to share just so you have the audio, that because I said that I made this voice message to him on Friday at 6:01. I want you to have that, please.
It's a voice message that you made to your friend about this encounter with the suspected shooter.
Yeah, the friend who I mentioned who's in the LDS leadership in Orem.
I see. So you before the shooting happened, you passed along this encounter to your LDS friend.
Correct. And I want you just to have it just for because I'm out camping, and I'm just out hitting doors. And so I'm walking and talking. So you hear me breathing and the door shutting. But I just want you to hear, just so you have additional context.
Okay.
And just my state of mind. And again, you feel free to play it. There's no swearing. It's clean.
Okay.
It's been shared with other news outlets, but I want you to have it just for full transparency purposes.
All right. Sounds good. I'll friend you from, you're Kris Johns 81. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm wearing a Tigers hat. I will friend you, but even if somebody on your staff, my Facebook profile is open. I just want to be able to just share this voice of a message, and unfortunately, I can't download it.
Okay, no
at least I'm not that smart.
I
want you to have it.
Okay, I will friend you on Facebook.
Thank you, sir, very much.
All right, enjoy the rest of your evening with your family, and best of luck on the campaign. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care.